you have to believe, then you don't know. And if you know, then you don't have to believe. Niri Shabaka, Ursa Ma'at Ra. And knowledge is infinite. Therefore, evolution is inevitable. Peace.
Welcome to Paradigm Shift TV 314. This is your brother, Piankhi, Ptah, Mutulu, Amun, Ra. And today we have a very powerful show. We have our brothers from the one and only Team Osiris. Before we let them speak their speech, let me do my usual greeting. Let me say hotep to my fellow Kemetic brothers and sisters. Let me say God bless to my Christian brothers and sisters. Let me say Islam to my Moorish brothers and sisters. Let me say shalom to my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters. Let me say assalamu alaikum to my brothers and sisters in the NOI. Let me say Jambo to the rest of my brothers and sisters throughout the African diaspora, be it here in the wilderness of the United States of America or beyond. As you know, I say that greeting for one reason and one reason only. It's because if you are Black, I'm with you, and I hope that you are with me. Our different ideologies are no reason for us not to unite. We could disagree without being disrespectfully disagreeable. And with that, brothers, please introduce yourself to the Paradigm Shift TV 314 audience.
I guess I'll go first. My name is Andreas Harris, also known as Chris MVP Harris. I'm going to give it over to Melvin.
Yep, my name is Melvin Jefferson, also known as the Grand Archivist, member of Team Osiris.
And my name is Khonsu Seshmu Amun, co-founder of Team Osiris.
That's peace. This is a huge honor for me to be talking to y'all brothers. Me and Chris have built before and been talking back and forth for a while, but just having y'all on and letting y'all build is, like I said, is a tremendous honor. So I'm gonna let y'all get into whatever topic, whatever subject y'all want to break down, build on. It's up to y'all. If you will, I'll start with my brother Khonsu.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. You know, man, age before beauty, so it's all good. Yeah, man. Well, I could say with Team Osiris, I actually founded the Black Flag movement, that avatar that you see, Chris, so proudly displaying. But I was a lifelong friend and former teacher of Yasi Ngozi. Chris is crazy. Yasi Ngozi, who is probably, in my opinion, one of the most brilliant young Black men that I've come across. I really don't know. Me being, it kind of sometimes I will brag a bit, and this I can brag about. You know, when you have a student that eclipses what you've done in their own way, it's a credit, you know, because Ngozi came to me as a young man and very intelligent, and he wanted to learn masonry, and it opened the door for him because we're the only Egyptian rite founded in 1989 in America. We're the very first one, and we're very proud of that. Ancient Kemetic Moral Science Masons, and we kind of gave a lot of innovation to a lot of people that brought Kemetic thought to America. Outside of Miss Sadui, who was a European woman that studied Egyptology, who I know personally, and it was an honor to be able to, learn things in Egypt and deal with people in Africa from a universal aspect. And then Ngozi met back up with me after keeping in touch with me intermittently and said, hey, man, I want you to try this YouTube thing. And I said, man, I don't know. And he said, come on, man, just try it with me. And I said, okay, I'll do it. And from that point on, it was just no looking back. And then he created Team Osiris. And it got a lot bigger than I thought. I didn't think it was going to be this influential. And it really has been, to the point that a lot of people avoid us as a group. And you probably know that because those that really follow Team Osiris, we talk just about everybody. So, I mean, we don't get the credit or the money, but it's because it's a passion, But I don't want to take over the panel. I appreciate it, though.
Yeah, no, I definitely know for a fact it's a lot of people avoiding y'all. I've seen it with my own eyes. And yeah, with everything you said about the brother Ngozi is absolutely true. I saw him a few months back just dismantle Zion Lex. And so if you will, I'm gonna go over to the MVP.
You know what? I've already done this. You starting stuff. I've already been on the platform before. Once again, everybody knows me through the debate scene. Like I said, I met Mr. Higgins or Khonsu on a Google Hangout one time, and I'll continue, as I stated before, on this platform. He was one of the first brothers that actually said, okay, here's a book, go read the book, When We Ruled the East, When Egypt Ruled the East. So I read that book, and like I said, that changed my entire paradigm. I was speaking to Melvin about it earlier today when I was getting off work. And once again, I want to let people know is I don't hate religious practices. You understand what I'm saying? I don't hate ritual. I don't hate those things. I don't hate Jesus. I don't hate David. I don't hate Solomon. I don't hate Yahweh. There's no need to hate a God. But what I do is teach comparative mythology. So if you don't want to have that conversation with me, don't invite me into your platforms. Don't invite me in your rooms, because that is a field of study that I'm excellent at. I catch myself in too many debates sometimes when I just want to have a scholastic conversation dealing with these things. And the more and more I talk to my own people, the more and more I'm beginning to see I'm just not going to get it. You know what I'm saying? Me and Khonsu, we spoke about that recently. I'm just not going to get those conversations that I'm looking for. And I don't feel as if I have to go to the European in order just to have a scholastic conversation. It's like you say, we can disagree. I was looking at the one gentleman that you had on your platform, and he was raising up all these books like Babylon Timbuktu and things like that. And I was just like, check him out. But he began to be very pompous about it and arrogant. And you had to tell him, look, man, we can disagree, but we don't have to get disrespectful about it. You know what I'm saying? And he had to catch himself. So I don't see the conversations becoming too fruitful. You know what I'm saying? Especially after the debate I just got out of. There's a lot of drama going on about this debate that I just recently had. And I'm starting to just like not want to be around it anymore. You understand what I'm saying? I'm really starting not to want to be around it anymore, because the community is becoming more and more poisonous because of the individuals that are now proliferating within the community. You understand what I'm saying? Egos are producing this honorary way of thinking, you know, and it's almost like the logic has gone out the window and I'm just going to lean on ignorance and belief. And if you don't believe what I believe, I'm going to cuss you out and I'm going to talk about you and I'm not going to answer your questions and just things like that. You understand what I'm saying? So it's really about maybe I'm growing. Maybe I just don't want anything to do with certain individuals. I don't know. But if you're gonna have a conversation with me, remember I study history, antiquity, comparative mythology. That's what I study. The Bible is a book of mythology. Whether y'all like it or not, it is a book of mythology with allegories and parables along with it.
That's peace. That's peace. Last and certainly not least, our brother Melvin. Speak your speech, my brother.
Yes, sir. Very similar to Chris, I got introduced to the league with meeting Khonsu and Ngozi in the Hangouts back in the day. This is actually when they were a part of they were a part of Amun Ra Squad at the time, and so they were associated. But I was more interested in Team Osiris because they were the research group. You know, Amun Squad was the forefront. They were the speakers. They were the ones who presented. But when it came time to getting the information, it was Team Osiris who was responsible for that information. And you know, the moment that I realized that, I was intrigued. I definitely had my own research going, and I felt like I could add something to the platform and to the team. And so you know, I reached out to Khonsu and you know, he's welcomed me onto the team, and Ngozi and them welcomed me onto the team. And so since we've been on the team, you know, we've done lots of research and lots of you know, productions to, you know, explain to our people the human experience. And you know, we've done so for quite some time. And like Khonsu said, you know, some people don't necessarily want to challenge us because I feel a lot of times we go over a lot of people's heads. We go over and beyond as researchers. And, you know, I think that's just due to the nature of us checking our biases. As humans, we all have biases, but in research, you definitely want to remove those biases so you're able to just look at the information that's present and acknowledge that itself without your own personal opinions and things like that. Um, as since I've been on Team Osiris, we've definitely grown. Uh, we have maybe 20, 30 members now, on different continents as well. We've reached out. You know, we have an excellent fan base over in the UK as well, and I just appreciate the opportunity to, you know, be able to add and participate with the platform. We recently added Brother Chris, who, you know, is a debater for SPDL, and you know, Chris has been definitely excellent. He definitely represents Team Osiris properly, and you know, I'm proud of what he's doing. You know, he's definitely representing, you know, what Team Osiris represents. You know, so.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, one thing I could say, the brother, when I reached out to him, very gracious, very humble, came on the program and we chopped it up. And he mentioned that he was going to reach out to you guys about coming on. And as you can see, so, you know, he a man of his word. And that I appreciate and respect 100%. Brother Khonsu, I wanna ask you a question. You mentioned masonry. And, you know, when for our people, for whatever reason, when you say that word or that title, it gets a negative connotation.
Right.
Can you speak on that? Like, why is that and where did that come from? Because when I was younger, that was something that a lot of men that I knew, you know, admired, you know, kind of looked up to, etc. When did this negative connotation get put on that, and how did and why did that, you know, how did that sort of come about?
Well, for our American history and masonry, it never really belonged to us. I mean, masonry was a means of networking with other black and white men for employment, and because it started out as guilds in America, and that was a way to network and generate capital. That was the purpose, and also be annexed from enslavement. So that particular brand of masonry is not what I helped found. This masonry is strictly dedicated to Africa. And in the history books, you would look at tribes like the Ogboni. The Ogboni are the original tribes of West Africa, particularly Yoruba land, that practiced a form of masonry, along with Palomayambi out of Congo and Candomblé going into Brazil, and eventually became hoodoo in American culture. Hoodoo is exclusively African American, and I think a lot of people don't know that, but it's not practiced. It wasn't practiced anywhere in the world but here. And masonry is about the science of psychology, and the reason it got a bad rep was because of the European influence, particularly the Eurasian. When we go into the Bavarian people, those Bavarian people had what was called the Illuminati, that took the framework of masonry, the structure, and then applied it to the liberal arts and sciences, which are 7 in 7, particularly grouped in 3s and 4s, which is the trivium and the quadrivium, teaching how to think, the process of thinking, and the process of wisdom through that thinking. Now, they borrowed it from other ancient sources. We talked about Hermes Trismegistus, and we start going into the different Kemetic cosmologies that also had inference to those things because of the way that the hieroglyphs and things were written. Now, because of that, and because of the wide ontology associated with it, it was given negative connotation because the Bavarians created a cult called the Illuminati cult, and they would promote what I put as the black flag, modern-wise anarchy, that we are free thinkers, we have a free mind, and the mind is all, and all is the mind. And it was also transcribed from the Kabbalah, that the in the Maghreb region and the Ashkenazim used as a means of mystical commerce, be able to break things down in a mystical form using poetic prose. And when you read the Ptah, when you read the Book of Gates, you read the Book of Fates, you will see the same poetic prose. And because it opposed the idea of a literal God, it was taken as people who were here to attack and control people, because we do not ascribe to a physical God. But that was not true. We did ascribe to the physical God. You are the physical God. And so it was just taken as a sense of, these people are here to brainwash us and go against the workings of God. Because we did not look at the devil as bad. We looked at the devil as the aspect and polarity of God. And that created devil worship, Baphomet, Elvius Levi, who was an Illuminati member, who never gave connotation to a literal devil. You can look at the picture and see it was totally allegorical. What goat walks around with breasts? That's not literal. So these things were just conflated over the time, evolution and the need to attack because of the Christian Reformation, which was Protestancy. They protested against the Christian and Catholic Church, which eventually led to white Anglo-Saxon Protestants that had an issue with mysticism and started calling it witchcraft and sorcery and things of that nature, because these free-minded people would not allow themselves to be controlled by Parliament or any other government. And they felt that, thinking was free and knowledge was free. And that's what gave, rise to the members of the Black Flag, or the Black Flag cult, that I love to represent.
That's peace. That's peace. Yeah, because I know that our people, you know, that's the first thing we like to say. Oh, this is the Illuminati, or that's the Illuminati. You know, whenever a black person is successful at anything, if it's sports, if it's entertainment, if it's, you know, it's a conspiracy theory behind it. And I'm always like, it couldn't be that that person worked hard. It couldn't be that, you know. And so I know that, I'm sure some of that do go on, but it can't be that with every single person. And so I always, you know, when you mentioned that, I automatically wanted to see, you know, what was your
Yeah, and you know,
thoughts?
we distinctly understand ancient Kemetic Moor science, masonry, in its American form. Because we're not originated in the continent of Africa, and we make a disparage on that. But we don't discredit our African lineage. And we don't look at Kemet, we put Kemetic because we're American. Kemetic is an American prose. It's not a classical term. However, the Kemetic people were Africans first before they were isolated and called Kemetic people, or just Egyptians. And we use Kemetic affectionately. It's not to disgrade, disavow anyone. No, it's just to say this is our form of understanding Egypt and understanding Kemet for the blackness that it is. And so we as Americans accept it in this form. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I just think like brothers like yourself and other brothers who are dedicated to understanding the rationale within Egypt is needed. And it's what Team Osiris represents. We have atheists, we have people that are agnostic, we have people that are just purely scientists that deal with agnosticism. You know, we have just people who are well-rounded and don't necessarily subscribe to one sect of our religion. Yeah. So it was on the same misnomer as Masonry would be. And the reason why Masonry is a misnomer now is because the European it has taken the namesake, but we are not Prince Hall, we're not Scottish Rite, I'm not Oriental Rite, Ancient Kemetic Egyptian Rite. And our benchmark is the Divine Mother, Ma'at Ma. We know that the mother is above all. We know we came from a woman. We did not come from some man in the sky. So we just took that and adopted it and changed lives and helped people understand and know knowledge. And that's just how we stood on it. And I've been debating a lot about it, man. I think once a month somebody inboxes me about masonry. It's tiring sometimes.
Yeah, very, very powerful information though.
Mm-hmm.
Brother Melvin, I did want to ask you about something. I think I had mentioned this in the back chat, and you threw something out. So I got a brother who I've been engaging with about this theory regarding Normer, and it kind of gets to me anyway. It seems like it's putting forward this dynastic race theory that we know a lot of people or a lot of races used to try to put forward about Kemet, to say that the dynastic period wasn't founded by indigenous African people. One thing that he asserts is that Normer came from Sumeria or Mesopotamia. I forget which one he said, and I'll get some clarification on that. Mm-hmm. The other part of his assertion is that Champollion, I hope I ain't butchering his name too bad, who deciphered the Meta Netra, that he did it incorrectly and it messed up Kemet's timeline. This is the assertion. And because it messed up Kemet's timeline, Normer wasn't Dynasty 1, he was Dynasty 0. This is all in an effort to historically place the Exodus. And you threw something out there. I can't remember exactly what it was, but go into that if you will, with whatever information you have on it, if you can.
Right. So first, I'll deal with Narmer being from Mesopotamia. That is definitely incorrect. Narmer was a Nubian, and he was part of the early dynastic period, and so he came up from Nubia and went into the Nile Valley region and reigned there. But again, he's just only part of that dynastic period. Uh, what I mentioned was that there was someone before Number, and that's something a lot of people don't discuss that we have a particular affinity for here at Team Osiris. Number was a successor to a proto-dynastic king. There was someone who came before him that reigned. And you can, if you look at the king's list, you can see that there are predecessors before he comes into play. He's just part of the dynastic period. So what I mentioned in the back chat was about King Scorpion. He's from one of the early pre-dynastic rulers. These are people that are native to that land before Narmer even comes into the picture, and these people reigned Egypt, that area, for a period of time. You're talking about the Nakata 2, Nakata 3 periods. You're talking about 4,000 BC. So these people ran that area well before Narmer comes into the picture. And all I was saying was that Narmer, a lot of people get the misconception that Narmer was the first, and he's not necessarily the first.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. And I have heard a little bit about King Scorpion, but not a whole lot. So I'm looking forward to possibly having you on in the future to
Okay.
to break that thing down as well. So now, have you heard anything about this notion of Kemet's timeline being off, and that's somehow why the Exodus is missed historically?
I have heard it, but the issue with that is that there's a king's list that lines up with the historical account, and that king's list has to be proven flawed. And so a lot of times what people try to do is they try to take the biblical narrative and build a timeline according to the biblical narrative and then try to match that with history, when it should be the other way around, because history exists before the narrative was even created. So you have to see if the narrative matches history, and it doesn't. There's a lot of contradictions with that. And so what they try to do is to try to shoehorn or pigeonhole certain areas in history that make sense according to the biblical narrative, and try to say, okay, here's where the Bible is true at, here's my fact, or here's my evidence. But again, like I said, the King's List exists, and it contradicts that whole notion.
Got you. I appreciate that. Yeah, that I'm like, because I know, I know that this Exodus thing is not an historical event.
Right.
And it's like the lengths that are being, taken to try to place it in history is just amazing. But I'm like, okay, I'm not as versed as I will be and as I would like to be. And so I'm like, I gotta find somebody who can break this thing down. And when you mentioned that, I was like, okay, when I get the brother on, I'm definitely gonna ask him about that.
The thing about Exodus is one of the most important focal points within the narrative. It's a convincing event that expresses the strengths of the deity in the narrative. So that is one of the focal points. You remove the Exodus from the narrative doesn't necessarily stick as much. So the Exodus is a strong point within that narrative, and another thing that I will express to you and your viewers is that when you look at the biblical scholars' consensus, no biblical scholar agrees that Exodus happened.
Exactly.
They
Exactly.
they understand that this is something that is likely not happen. But what they try to do is come up with excuses or theories that could try to make it happen, but they all have their own theories. So they can't even agree on the theory of the Exodus, let alone accept the fact that the Exodus actually happened. So
Yeah.
that's something you're gonna have a problem with when someone wants to prove the Exodus, is the actual biblical scholars can't even come to an agreement if the Exodus did exist based on the information that they're presenting. So they automatically, by default, agree that it's likely to not have ever existed. And again, this is a focal point within the narrative. This is one of the things that the people try to prove because it helps the narrative stay stronger. It's the same as trying to prove the existence of Christ in the New Testament. Christ is the focal point within that narrative. You remove him from that narrative doesn't have as much of an effect as it would with him there. So that's a strong point that a lot of people try to prove, but again, they're trying to line up the narrative with reality, and they're going to find fault with that.
Gotcha. Gotcha. It make perfect sense. It make perfect sense. Yeah, I definitely appreciate it. All right, MVP.
What's up, man?
So I'm curious to see how you're gonna answer this question.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you so polarizing to our brothers and sisters in the Abrahamic faith? Because it seems like it don't matter if it's a Hebrew Israelite, a Christian, a Moor, a Muslim. Why is the MVP so polarizing to our brothers and sisters within that paradigm?
Ah, man, that's that might be one you might have to ask the guys.
Yeah, I could tell him. He should.
Yeah, that's something you might have to ask.
Okay. Okay.
Chris shoots 10,000 jump shots every night. Period.
Okay. So he Michael Jordan and Larry Bird.
10,000 jump shots every night. Before he goes to bed, knocks them out.
Okay.
But you know, everybody has, like I said, everybody has a bias, a confirmation bias, and in my opinion, Chris a lot of times just sticks with the information. He sticks with what is true, with what can be presented, and he approaches it from an unbiased perspective. But like how I said earlier before the show started, you have to be delicate in your approach, like a surgeon, because a lot of people have built up an identity over these texts, these belief systems. They built up an identity, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's actually psychologically beneficial. It's just that when you come up against someone who opposes that, you have to defend that, because that's, again, with an identity, that's you. You're saying that this biblical narrative explains or defines you. So you're going to always have pushback because there's an identity attached with it. These people do not study the text as is. They don't take it from a philosophical perspective or a metaphysical perspective. It's all about proving who they are. It's all about feeling significant and special and separated from everybody else in the world. And so Chris doesn't attach that with his research. And so he's able to be meticulous with it, but he's going to always bump heads with these people because they claim that this is them. And there's no way to stop that. That's based on the people themselves. But over time, Chris can get more surgical with his approach, and that could help convert some people. You know, I critique him all the time. He could be more surgical with it, and that would help. But as of right now, he's still going to bump heads with some people, and that's just the nature of information. You know, when you find something that's contrary to what someone believes, they're going to automatically deny it.
Yeah, it's a form of cognitive dissonance.
Yes.
When you meet somebody with information that that deconstructs that original paradigm, they'll begin to get very hostile sometimes. You understand? You saw the room. They asked me, show me something that correlates with the Bible. I said, okay, let's go to the pyramid text of Saqqara. You know, and I said, well, here it is right here. And they all went crazy. They all got mad. They started reading Paul, started reading the book of Revelation. They would ask me a compound question. Everybody jumping on me. And when I tried to answer one question, shut up, don't answer it that way. You know, I don't know. Like I said, up here said, the results that I wanted, I'm no longer getting. You understand what I'm saying? The results that I want, I'm not gonna get. You
And we
understand what
lost
I'm saying?
Khonsu.
He'll come right back. He probably lost the signal from me. He'll jump right back in. But if you look at it, nobody debates more than the Hebrew Israelites. They love to debate. They love to bang on Africa. They love to give out all this misinformation, such as the one with Narmer. Well, they got the dates wrong, so he was actually 0 dynasty, not the first dynasty. Okay, fine. What articles or what research or what archaeological research have you brought forth to say that Narmer comes from Mesopotamia? What scholars or archaeologists line up with what it is that you're teaching? You understand what I'm saying? Show me how they got the dates wrong. Explain that to me. Can you do a PowerPoint presentation that can explain this to us so we can follow you along? You understand what I'm saying? Why do you guys always try and shift the African narrative in order to shoehorn the biblical narrative? Because if you take Egypt out of the biblical narrative, their story does not exist. It's just that simple. And one more time, it's not about banging on Egypt, but Egypt was the city that everyone saw when they came into the Levant and they went further into the interiors of Africa. They saw that city that Ramses built. They saw it. They saw how beautiful it was. So here it is, instead of embracing a history that you can identify with, that you can look at and say, that's something that my ancestors built. You know, just don't stop in Egypt. Go to Nubia, go to Ethiopia, come on home to West Africa. Let's learn about Nox civilization, 10,000 BCE. You know, you understand what I'm saying? You know, forging metal. You know how hot you got to get to forge some metal? Do you know how hot you got to get a furnace to do that? You know, these were advanced civilizations. And you know, he may have a point. Nobody may know how old Egypt really is. You may not know. I mean, we look at the Sphinx. The Sphinx dates what? Some people say 15,000 years. Some people say 40,000. Some people say 20,000. But we know it's Africans that built it. We know they put it there. You understand what I'm saying? Brothers that look like you, Piankhi, you, Melvin, and especially Brother Khonsu Seshmu Amun. They look just like you. And instead of embracing that and saying, this was a culture, albeit it might be not as practiced anymore, but this was a culture and a civilization that I could look at and say, if we all bring our heads together, we can do something great on a grand scale. That's what I teach the pyramids represented. They represent that the people who built those nations and those civilizations, they were saying, hey, look, we're an advanced civilization and we're building on a grand scale. And that's what all those things meant. And that's what they represent. No proof for an Exodus, though. Let me refrain. Let me continue to say that. You can't prove it. So stop teaching that nonsense. Those stories, there's a lot of stories that come from.
All right, fellas. This is a question for everybody. And I just kind of want y'all opinion on it because it's something I noticed since I've been engaging with the quote unquote conscious community. Because I made a video where I said, I guess I'm not conscious, because I noticed like everything, it's almost like another religion, to where, you know, I had a sister tell me, you know, she asked me, do I eat meat? I said, yeah, I try not to eat as much as I, you know, I recently dropped some weight, and I'm trying to keep it that way. So, you know, I'm doing everything in moderation that I can. But, well, yeah, if you eat meat, you're not conscious. Okay, you know, and same thing, a brother. Well, you know, you get your kids shots. If you trust the government, you're not conscious. All of these different little rules that I'm like, wait a minute. So when it comes to the quote unquote conscious community, to me, in some ways, it seems like it's just as religious as the so-called religious beliefs and groups that they bang against. Am I on the wrong track in that line of thinking, or am I, or can y'all relate to that?
Definitely. I mean, I could say that it's actually more counterproductive. When you look at it on a whole, you look at the Catholic Church or any kind of sect of religion, most of it, for the most part, except for the extremists, are pretty productive in society. You don't see productive counterparts coming out of, or byproducts coming out of the conscious community. What you see is a lot of fringe interpretations of things, a lot of buzzwords, a lot of Afrocentrism. And a lot of people used to get upset with Team Osiris because we had a problem with Afrocentricity. And we do when it's used as a cult, when it's not used properly to objectify the world. Afrocentrism was supposed to objectify your relativity of being African to the world. Not as long as it's black, it works. If I eat chew sticks all day, it works. Brother, I had heart failure, diabetes, high blood pressure, and I was slowly dying. And I just cleaned up my diet, and I eat meat, and it saved my life. When I was a vegetarian, I almost died. So can't nobody tell me what Dr. Sadie talking about, because he in the ground. And last time I checked, vegetarians in the cemetery too. So it's not, again, it's that misinformation cloaked in superficial information, and the ability for someone to be pragmatic and a demagogue in their own space to make them appear to be credible. But a lot of stuff that they say is incredible, and people are wooed by the fact that it is. And the conscious community at one point was a good parameter, but this was before me and you came along. This is before the evolution of people like myself and you and Melvin and Chris and other people that are independently now being able to freely research and gain understanding for themselves. And now you just can't stand in front of a crowd and somebody not source you on the spot. Well, no, sir, that's not what they said. Could you break that down? And that's created a problem. And that's where the conscious community is kind of falling short. You know, when you had the elders like Bobby Hennett and Phil Valentine and these guys, great. You know, I loved them. Growing up, man, they said some things, man, had me just in awe. But they had their time, and they opened the way for people like ourselves to take on the mantle. Right now, Bobby Hemmett would not be complete information. It would be pseudo. It's not disrespectful. It's just that he had his time and his elevation, and he had his technology at his disposal. Now we do, and we're seeing things in a different light. So the conscious community is not what it was, and I don't think it'll ever be.
Peace. That's peace. MVP, go in on that if you will.
That's just something to make people feel credible. You know, you eat meat, don't take shots, don't vote. All of these things which your ancestors died for. Let me explain something to you. Your ass didn't have a choice what you was gonna eat when you was a slave. Your ass couldn't vote. Your ass couldn't go to certain schools. Whatever they threw out there into that field, that's what you ate. Whatever they put in that big ass pot, that's what you grabbed a spoon in a bowl and they fed you. So the one thing I do not do and engage in is dietary conversations. If somebody want to eat pork, they can eat pork. If somebody want to eat red meat, they can eat red meat. If somebody want to get drunk all day, they can get drunk. That does not make you do not lose credibility as a person with me. The only way you lose credibility with a person as me is when you don't take care of your family as a man or as an adult in the decisions that you make. Because I'm not gonna want to be around you if you're constantly making bad decisions, because those decisions can affect me. I mean, come on, man. You think I'm about to be out with a group of brothers or women and say, hey, man, I don't want to mess with you no more because you eat that. You know, I was in a barber's chair one time and I opened up a McDonald's burger. And he took a step back and he said, that's offensive to me. And I said, what are you talking about? This one, they still had the bacon double cheeseburgers, right? Y'all, I don't know if you remember those.
No
And
doubt.
he said, that's offensive to me. I said, why is it offensive to you? He said, because I don't eat pork. And I said, oh, all right, like that. And he said, I'm a Muslim. I said, but I'm paying you to cut my hair.
Right.
I'm not asking you what's offensive to you. So you know what I did? And I said, well, since it's offensive to you, hey, Mark, you got any? All right, I'm finna come get in your chair. That $10 haircut, which I always pay you $25 to cut my hair, Mark gonna get now.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying? So let's stop with the pseudo consciousness all the time. Your ass don't need a vaccine, because there are people in Africa that will die for those vaccines. All right? Let's stop all the conspiracy theory nonsense. All right? We can be like Khonsu, for instance. He ain't getting on there talking about no conspiracy theories. He opens up his channel and he deals with finance, economics. But you think niggas want to hear that? Can I say nigga right now? Is it okay?
Speak your
Niggas don't wanna hear
speech.
that shit. It's too intelligent. It's shit. He was saying some things the other day, got me looking at $500 I got in my pocket, man. Like, let me just throw this on underneath my mattress for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Let me just put this away for the side for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I don't need that right now. So, I mean, it's a lot of things in the conscious community. It's almost like these guys are becoming like pseudo pimps, misinformation pimps. You know what I'm saying? Show me the information that say I'm gonna die earlier if I eat red meat. Show me the information that says I'm gonna die a lot quicker if I eat pork. My aunt is 78 years old and she's been smoking since she was 15 years old. Don't matter. If a person has something intelligent to say to you and there's something that you can learn from that person, that's all that should matter. That's all that should matter. That's why I tell people, you know, just kind of like changing the tone. When I hear people hating on Jesus, I'm like, what do you hate Jesus for? It's the best thing in the book. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get what I'm saying? And you just look at these guys, and just be all like, yo, a lot of the arguments that we bring forth sometimes about what a person does on his personal time. You know, you see all these arguments, online engagements, like people open up YouTube, talk all day to each other, and argue all night. Like, do you have a wife at home? Do you have children? I know most of you all do. If you guys want to do this, just get on the phone with each other. You're putting yourself out there in front of the world. And when the world sees us, that's what they see. Oh, look at the unintelligent black men fighting and arguing over nothing.
Nothing.
White man, he thinking about power, economics, capitalism, rule. Like, so I said, I'm growing out of certain paradigms now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what else to say. Don't come at me talking about what kind of meat and food you eat. I could care less.
Brother, yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, like I say, I straight up made a video. It's on my channel. I guess I'm not conscious because I couldn't. I'm like, so you saying I trust the government because I get shots number one, that's an African concept. They got that from us. Inoculation came from us. We showed them how to do that, number one. Number two, what can you do in this country as a citizen of this country where you don't trust the government? If you eating food, it's FDA approved. If you buying clothes, it's Trade Commission approved. So you trust the government too. If that's like, what are you talking about? My bad.
That they say, it's like a lot of stuff that they say, you be like, man, that ain't even practical what you talking about.
Yeah.
It's not even practical. Like, it's just like I said, you're just trying to argue at this point. You know what I'm saying? I don't get it. I was just listening to some brother said, one guy came on there and they was talking about Trump's platinum plan that he has for black people. Now, of course, I have heard nothing about this until a couple of weeks ago. And yes, it sounds like a good idea, right? But he knows, watch this, Trump now knows that the black vote is going to swing this election. He knows. So what does he try to do? He'll say something like that so we can all get to running out there. And these same brothers that claim to be conscious will ignore 4 years of bullshit. 4 years of bullshit. And say, we want to vote for the Trump plan. And you know what? Rightfully so. They had every right to vote for whoever they want to vote for. Rightfully so. But don't say in the same breath, yeah, niggas ain't done nothing for us. Black people ain't done nothing for us in office. Don't let that come out your mouth, because that was the next thing that came out the man's mouth. And I said, whoa. If you want to vote for Trump and his plan, be my guest. But what makes you say something like that? And you're supposed to be conscious. You're supposed to be conscious. I don't get it. What makes you say something like that? And where did that come from? Well, the first thing you do is you destroy your own people. They asked Trump about police, law enforcement, and what's been going on in the Ku Klux Klan. The man ignored, acquiesced to the point about the Ku Klux Klan and said, law is a good thing.
Man, I've always, and Kelsey knows this, I've always classified these people as ex-churchgoers, ex-Christians that used to have a belief system that makes sense out of reality. And as soon as they heard something, as soon as they were shared something, they chose to come out of the church and go into this quote-unquote conscious movement, but they have failed to make up the sense of reality. So everything that they're going to come up with, every excuse they're going to come up with is religious undertones, but it's pseudo above the top because, again, they don't understand reality. So they're going to come up with excuses and things to try to make sense of it all, but they're really showing that they really need to either go back into that church system, because that's where they were the most saying that. A lot of these people, they can't handle reality. So they have to make up excuses. They have to try to come up with judgments such as how the food you eat affects them. Like, and it's just that's just the thinking process of a lot of these people. And it's just the nature of removing them from that system. Belief systems have psychological benefits, and a lot of these people need those benefits because the way that they act outside of it shows that they have no understanding of the real world. So I just think that a lot of these people, they just, especially online, a lot of these people are strictly online. When it comes to reality, they're out of touch.
Yeah, it's and I wasn't skipping you, brother man. I was getting to you.
No, that's fine.
But yeah, it's a trip, man. I just sometimes it's hard to I'm like, man, it gets frustrating, but it's your people when you're trying to, not that I'm where I want to eventually be, but you trying to take this thing with regards to your education level, your mode of thinking, your economic level. You're trying to take this thing to a higher plateau, and then you got somebody telling you because of what you eat, you not this or you not that. You know, it's like, come on, man. We got bigger stuff to worry about than worrying about what somebody eating. Like I said, you do everything in moderation and keep it like that, and you'll be fine. But yeah. And speaking of Brother Khonsu channel and the things, my wife actually watch his channel. My wife is an IT professional, bachelor's degree, master's degree, working on a doctorate. So, you know, she done got some, and she's a Christian, and she done got some wealth of knowledge from our brother. So everybody that's listening, make sure you check out our brother channel. And before we get done, he gonna tell you how to find it. The other thing I wanted to ask y'all is whether it be like a Christian apologist or just a normal everyday Christian that you're talking to, or other people, not even necessarily a Christian, but a Muslim, a Moor, whatever the case may be. Have y'all saw this? We know they do, like the Hebrew Israelites do it, but have y'all saw where our people, meaning Black people, have this negative connotation towards Africa and all things African, be it the spirituality, the people, etc., to where they don't understand why you would be attracted to it, want to be associated with it, etc. Is that a byproduct of these beliefs, or is it a byproduct of the American culture, so to speak? If y'all know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, most definitely. It's systemic racism. That's what systemic racism does. Our particular role in the African diaspora put us in a very unique situation because we are bottlenecked into a society that we were forced into assimilation with. And with the assimilation, we had to integrate. So we could not deal with an African-centered ontology or even develop epistemology from it. So we haven't been able to do that with an African auspicity. So the term American can be misleading sometimes. You know, I tend to like the term American African because I am African and I happen to be American instead of African American. It's a social political issue that has organically pushed us away from our African center. So we tend to be centric instead of the focal point being Africa. It is remnants of Africa making us centric. And because we don't have a direct understanding of African culture. And we've developed our own culture here that is substantially African, but it's by way of diaspora. So we have a hard time grasping certain concepts because we've been influenced by Protestant culture. And the Protestant culture has determined the way that we eat, sleep, talk, drink, dress, communicate, so forth and so on. So because of that, and the natural actions of humans and biological behavior, we've adapted to our surroundings. And that's what we're a byproduct of where we live. And unfortunately, we don't have markers here that give us ancient understanding of our culture. So we adapt to the religion that's prominent, that is by a dominating class.
Awful, brother. That pretty much nailed it. Brother Melvin, what's your take?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Khonsu. Systemic racism is definitely responsible for that. You remove the identity and cultural norms from a people, and you force them to adopt one that is foreign to them. And so over time, as they become forced into coercion with this new society, with this new culture, they tend to drop off some things, some cultural values and some cultural norms. But as African Americans or American African people, the root of who we are still lies within us. There's even our daily practice, things that we do in our homes, things as we operate outside of our homes are African in nature via the diaspora. But the issue that I believe a lot of these people have is we don't have a direct connection to Africa. So it's very easy to deny it because there's no direct culture, there's no direct cultural identity. This is why I say, Africans who have gone over the different traumas that they've had in their land, Africans who have dealt with the trade issues and the slavery issues, but have remained in Africa, Africans who have adopted Islam or they've adopted Christianity, but have remained in Africa, have kept their identity. So they can dabble in other things and still have their center. Whereas we don't have that. And so we're forming one here in America. We're forming African American culture, African American dialect, African American diet, African American themes within an American paradigm. So even though it's American, we still have Africanized a lot of these things, and that's just the nature of who we are. That's within our DNA. But again, because it can be so easily dismissed because there is not a direct connection, they feel as if it's too far-fetched to be so. And so it's much easier to believe in anything else except that. And I also think that a lot of people don't want to deal with the reality and the pain of that experience. A lot of people, they look at being African as a bad thing. You dealt with slavery and that means you're prisoners of war, and it just has a bad theme with it. But most of us, all of us here at Team Osiris, we actually respect having gone through that and still making it alive, still being descendants of those people that went through that horrible, tragic incident, that tragic lifestyle, and fought through it to make sure that we would be here today. We respect that. We honor those that fought and those that maintained through it, regardless. And I think that's what allows us to appreciate Africa. It's because it's of Africa within us. It's because of our culture, values, and norms that still exist today.
I just wanted to say I got about 10 minutes left. I have an engagement to go to, but I got about 10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, and I actually, I just had one more thing. I was trying to wait for Chris to come back and get his take on that question, but we can move on. And so basically in line with that last question, do you think that's where these, this sort of, I call them identity crisis or spiritual identity crisis. I don't know what category you would put them in, but where we have, we not African, we the Hebrews, or we not African, we the Moors, or, I don't even know at this point what the NOI says. I don't know if they say we African or the tribe of Shabbat. I don't know what they say, but it is not necessarily African per se. But we have all, now we have, I had a brother on who says he's a Hebrew Israelite, but he's indigenous to Turtle Island. So do you think that's where those sort of identity crisis sort of stem from? That negative connotation that's been put on the motherland?
I would say no. Actually, it is very intimate. When you study topics like social studies, social behavior, it's personality worship, and the reason it is is because the greatest promoter of the European religion was mom, dad, aunt, uncle. Those who held authoritative figures in a Eurocentric home. So when your mother and your grandmother told you God was good, you're going to trust your mother and your grandmother. Your dad say, hey, man, you know, Jesus did this and that, and you look up your father's, and it's a stable home. A lot of people from the conscious community come from unstable homes because the influence is not there to promote it. They just didn't fall into consciousness and Hotep. And there's a lot of some of us, not all of us, but some of us didn't have Big Mama sitting on the porch singing spirituals, or Christmas and dinner and prayers and everything going around that table. And that's what created that. But in the same instance, brother, Christianity gave us a sense of morals and understanding. When we look at the Bible for its usage, it has very good values in it. And those values that were taken out of it and put into Negro spirituals that were already intertwined into Hoodoo understanding, Voodoo religion, Sudanese practice, and Yoruba, it was a practice of family. So it became a family construct. And that has been hard to let go. Because we suffer from post-traumatic trauma due to slavery, enslavement, we have those things that we hang on to. Big Mama's Bible, Daddy's Bible, Granddad's Bible. That was something that you would revere because you revered them. It wasn't the Bible talking. It was that authoritative figure that was pragmatic and influential in the way that you processed. Sometimes you didn't even know what the hell they were saying. You go to church and the preacher is just with energy and fire and brimstone. He's coming because he was taught by the overseer to preach the Bible. That was the overseer's position, to be the preacher. But the overseer was the one that kept the people motivated to work, made sure they ate a high sugar, high fat diet to pick that cotton. He kept the morale up. So now when we go to church, it's no coincidence that it's an inspirational thing. And church and Christ and God is being said less and less, because that's what it's really about. And that's why we have that affinity. And even when you see the Black Hebrew Israelites in America, they're nothing but black Anglo-Saxon Protestant Christians. That's what they are in base, because they operate in that modality of unity, family, and, you know, a family construct. And it's kind of interesting, man. It's an amazing psychological thing when you sit back and look.
Oh yeah, it's if I can add, it's very similar to this Aboriginal movement that you may see coming out, where a lot of people are saying that they are Native Americans or that they were here first. You know, a lot of that comes from that family authoritative figure saying, "Oh, you have, you know, this type of hair or this type of skin or so and so and so, and our family was a native." It comes from that, and you know, I think a lot of people underplay the value of, you know, our family system and its effect on psychology.
That's a fact.
Yeah, I agree. It's an amazing phenomenon, and it's just like, because you hear it and it just sounds so nonsensical, but they be
Right.
they dead serious, you know. And these are, you know, in a lot of ways, powerful, charismatic brothers who, you know, smart, intelligent, you know, motivated, you know, and about doing positive things for their people. And it's like, how did you come to this conclusion? So yeah, that's, you know.
It's all in the personality. I mean, we look at the election this year and we see such a challenging year in 2020, an enlightening one as well. And one of the presidential candidates is picking a Black woman, and people want to be part of history. They want to vote for the first Black woman vice president. It's not even about the issues that are going on in the world.
Nope.
It's about the value and the effects of marking history and playing a role in it. And this is what systemic racism does. it markets race. It does not mark inequality, it marks race. And then we take the term race and then we take it and convolute it and give equal to non-equal, so forth and so on. But the race marketer is very smart. They say, if I can control blacks and whites, I win the game. If I control the choice, I win the game. When really the world is all about humanity. But that would be too simple now, wouldn't it? So we're going to have to create something that is a nemesis complex to promote lack of self-esteem and the need to be following something for a sense of understanding. And that's what religion has been promoting.
And they promote that to a lot of times the head of the family, and a lot of times that's Big Mama. And you're not going to tell Big Mama she's wrong, but
I'm still not going to tell her.
yeah, you even when you get old enough, you're not going to tell her.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know where the MVP went, but I know our brother Khonsu gotta get out of here. So I'm gonna let y'all close out. You know, let everybody know where they can find you. Like I said, it's been an honor and a pleasure having y'all brothers on, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. Brother Melvin, let the people know where they can find you.
Yes, thanks for definitely having me and the other brothers on the platform. I really appreciate it. Yes, you can find me on Facebook, Team Osiris Facebook group. We're often in there. Also, Team Osiris Reloaded on YouTube. And of course, I'm currently over at SVDL as a judge, so you can definitely find me there as well.
That'll work. Brother Khonsu.
Yes, sir. You can find me Khonsu Seshmu Amun on YouTube, Khonsu Seshmu Amun on Facebook, and Team Osiris. I'm also a judge on Solar Vision Debate League, so you can find me there. And then I have an independent financial company. I deal with financial consulting and business startups, aboriginalconsulting.com. So reach out to me, and we can chop it up a bit.
That's peace. Once again, this has been Paradigm Shift TV 314. Y'all know me, your brother, Piankhi, Ptah, Mutulu, Amun, Ra. Find these brothers, check them out, support what they got going on, and they'll be back on the platform. Looking forward to building with them again. Brothers, it's been an honor and a pleasure.
Likewise, brother. We appreciate you, man.
The MVP coming back just in time to close out.
Batman, that's Batman.
Sorry, guys. I had to use the bathroom, and sometimes things happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was listening, though, with my phone in there, so I had it on both things. So, yeah.
That'll work. Well, let the people know where they can find you, my brother, and close this thing on out.
You can find me at Chris Harris MVP TV, Chris MVP Harris. You can check me out there, or just put in YouTube Chris Harris or Andreas Harris, and everything will pop up. So I got a small channel, man. If anybody want to come on there and talk and kick it, you're more than welcome to. And remember what I said I study. And with that being said, shout out to Team Osiris, Khonsu, Melvin, and the rest of the team. I got to get back in here and take care of some business, of course. And just want to say thank you again, Brother Piankhi, for allowing us to come on here and kick it with you. And I hope, I pray a lot of peace and prosperity to you. And I hope that your channel continues to grow, because it's something very positive that a lot of people will come on here and express themselves. So with that being said, you can go ahead and close it out, man. Thanks for having us on once again.
Absolutely. That'll work. Once again, Team Osiris, this is Paradigm Shift TV 314, and that's peace.
Peace.
Peace.